Hey, welcome to Wolf's Watch. I'm Wolf. Today is it's a Friday, right? We're gonna have a fun Friday. We want to talk about irony and explain the title to you for today's episode on why it is from the Baltic Sea to Seattle. But first, let's talk about irony for a second. On this day in history, in 1870, Hiram Rhodes Reynolds, Revels. Jeez, can't believe I goofed that up. Got it written right here and everything. Hiram Rhodes Revels became the first African American to serve in Congress. He was sworn in to the U.S. Senate on this day in 1870. And here's where massive irony comes into play. Hiram Rhodes Revels, an African American Republican from Mississippi, took the Senate seat that had been previously occupied by none other than Jefferson Davis before the Civil War. How crazy is that? It's amazing how things work out, how things play out over time. And think about this. This was within 5 years of the Civil War. Deeply fought. And Mr. Revels being sworn in was in his seat in the Senate was contested as well. There's a lot more history with that, and I don't want to drag it into the politics because you'd be surprised at who that was fighting, or maybe not. If you know history, you wouldn't be surprised at all. It's the same people that were the same political party that was behind the states seceding from the Union and starting the Civil War. But the thing was, so here it is 5 years later, African American gentleman is exercising his right to participate in politics and takes Jefferson Davis's former seat in the Senate. I love it. And no, he was an advocate for bringing the country back together and getting things back on track as fast as possible after the Civil War, as well as making sure that his fellow African Americans got their right to vote. That things were secured for them because they were having a lot of problems. Right? You had Jim Crow laws were coming. You had the KKK was actively terrorizing them to keep them out of politics, to keep them from enjoying the freedoms that were their right as American citizens. And just an amazing time and an amazing individual. I highly recommend that you read more on him. And another reason I enjoyed reading his story, is the thread of irony. Because I had some irony myself, which ties into an experience of irony myself that in a good way, that tied into the title of this episode, from Georgia from the Baltic Sea, the country of Georgia on the Baltic Sea, to Seattle, Washington. And there's a gentleman that I had a chance to meet in the 1990s. I hosted him at a company I was working for. We were looking for best practices in how to do product development, best practices in solving engineering problems and solving science problems. And this gentleman from Georgia. Now, wait a minute. Before we move on, I want to share this with you. Here's Mr. Rhodes, Senator Hiram Rhodes Revels in 1870. Well done, Senator Revels. And he is a lifelong minister as an adult. He stayed involved in ministry. He went on to become president of an African-American college, so help with education at that time. Really had a big impact, because this is still when tempers were flaring and people were still resolving differences after the Civil War, just a few short years, 5 years after the Civil War. So well done, Senator Revels. Coming back from the Baltic to Seattle, if you're not familiar with the country, I've got some mapping to show you here. If you're not familiar with the country of Georgia, not the state of Georgia in the U.S., but the country of Georgia. So here is the country. If you can see my cursor here, right here is the country of Georgia. This is the Black Sea. So zoom in just a little bit, courtesy of Google Maps. So again, here is the country of Georgia. Here is the Black Sea. This is Russia up here. I'm going to zoom back out a little bit just to give you a sense of where this is in terms of historical stuff. Here's the Ukraine up here. This is all Ukraine when I talk about the Ukraine peninsula in the Black Sea up here, and then here's Russia in between Georgia and the Ukraine. Uh, Courtesy of Google Maps, showing a little bit of where things are in the world, and zoom out some more. You have Turkey to the south on the Baltic Sea, and here's the Mediterranean. So you come in through come through the Mediterranean through a channel. Actually, I believe it's a canal that was dug to finally get the rest of the way in past Turkey into the Baltic Sea. Strategically important area. Now, here was the experience that I had with this gentleman from the country of Georgia. I was hosting him, as I mentioned, for to come and do a lecture for some of our top people in product development, engineering, or some of our science. The company I worked for at that time had some hardcore science research going on as well. Brought him in because he while he was in Georgia, he had mentored under one of the leaders in the 20th century of developing a very effective science-based problem-solving process. And I don't want to get into that because it's technical stuff. There's a lot of math involved. Don't want to. It's not the point. The point is, I took the time to pick him up at the airport because I wanted to have a conversation with this gentleman. I knew where he's from. He's living in Seattle, Washington at the time, here in the United States, and we had this incredible conversation because we had 30, 45 minutes, of windshield time from the airport to the campus, corporate campus where he was going to be speaking. And I got to hear this story about how he was the second person to start a business in the country of Georgia after the fall of the USSR, or actually would have been before that, before the USSR dissolved. Is under perestroika, which you may remember from the late 80s, early 90s. And he was telling the story about, he was very excited. He was the second person to do it. He didn't know what to do because they hadn't been taught anything about starting companies. And it was illegal when he was a young man. And all of a sudden now it's okay. So he goes to his mentor that he highly respected, an older gentleman, and told him what he wanted to do. And this gentleman, he goes, the response I got from him, I wanted his help because he was an older man. He had been alive when it was possible to have a free business before Georgia had been dominated by the USSR. And it was possible to have a free business, a free enterprise business, like we know here in the United States, right? Entrepreneur. And because I was just crushed at this gentleman, his response is my mentor. I respected him. Like, what did he say? Wow. What could he possibly have said that was so horrifying? Because, well, I explained to him what I wanted to do, and I thought he would be excited for me, want to help me. And his first question was, I'm worried for you. And I was like, why? He said, well, we've seen this before. Said, what do you mean? He goes, I remember the last time that we were told it was okay to go ahead and start businesses. And some of the men stepped up and they were excited and they started businesses and did well for themselves, for their family, for the communities they served. And then the government changed their mind and said, no, we can't do this. And they took all the businessmen out in the town square and they shot them all. And I was like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? He goes, no. He goes, it's just, and it really hadn't, we'd been taught that history, but we didn't really think about it. He goes, and as my mentor was telling me this, I was thinking, yeah, do I want to do this? And it's like, well, it's a hard decision. It's a hard decision. He goes, yes. He goes, how could I not? Here we were given the opportunity to do it again, the freedom to do it again. How could I not? And that was what led to him eventually being very successful in Georgia, becoming internationally known because of his expertise in the ability to innovate, to solve problems in a very innovative way, and to innovate in technology, in engineering, and then to build a successful business in the United States, which is why he was coming to lecture with us and then hopefully be able to collaborate moving forward. And I was thinking, as a young man in the United States, growing up during the Cold War, with the threat of nuclear war at any minute, we're supposedly the international scientists, the people that are supposed to be experts and be in the know, had said that we're only 7 minutes away from total nuclear global annihilation. And they made us do duck and cover exercises in school. I remember doing that early days that stopped, before we got out of grade school. had backed off on that, but it was an unbelievable time, and there was always that heaviness that something intense can happen, yet people thrived. Businesses were started. Businesses scaled up. Technologies were developed. The microelectronics, what we know as the computer industry, launched and thrived under that environment. We got to make friends with people like this gentleman from Georgia. And here we are again today with more global chaos. 2 years after the start of the last round of global chaos, who knows where this is going to lead this time? And it's thought, isn't it ironic how things turn out? A song about that, and it seems very apropos. But it's those moments to be able to learn from someone on the other side of the globe, to build a friendship with someone on the other side of the globe. There's a young man I never thought about having the opportunity to talk to because the United States and the USSR, not talking. Couldn't do it. United States and China, kind of iffy. And here we are again, all these years later, United States and Russia, not talking so much. United States and China, not on good terms. So what do you do? Right? You do what's in front of you. We talked about this on the previous episode. As a leader in your business, this is the opportunity to be the eye in the hurricane storm, as people may be concerned, still lingering concerns about the, let's just say what started in 2020, shall we? And leave it at that. And, in these new crises that may, once again, possibility of international war. Could this be World War III? Could this be, what is NATO doing? What are you doing? What are your people doing? Are you making sure you're taking care of your family, taking care of your people, and that you are working with them to continue to serve the community that you serve, provide more value, scale up that business? It's the biggest impact you can have. It's the biggest fight for freedom you can have. Create more opportunities for everybody around you. Scale up that business, and you continually expand opportunities for your family, people on your team, and the community that you serve. It's in manufacturing, depending on whose statistics that you read, whose math project you look at. Every single job in a manufacturing company supports 4 to 7 other jobs. And that's some positive leverage. Those tend to be high-paying jobs too. Manufacturing jobs pay 30 to 40% more than service industry jobs. So if you're running a factory, if you're building your own stuff, thank you. Keep at it. If any way we can help, let us know. And that's just, just wanted to talk about that because it's Friday and the war drums are beating. We're watching what's going on, looking at the reality of it, not ignoring that, but at the same time, determined to say, we're going to continue to fight the good fight, to create opportunities, to expand opportunities for others, to help scale up businesses, and to enjoy life, enjoy the day, enjoy the moment. This is Fun Friday. I think today is such a serious day. And as always, it's there's always National Day of something. Today is National Chocolate Covered Nut Day. So enjoy, celebrate accordingly. Today is National Chocolate Covered Nut Day. Enjoy and celebrate accordingly. Plus, it's Friday. What better day for a chocolate covered nut? Maybe with your favorite beverage, preferably with some friends. So have an awesome weekend. Thanks for being part of Wolf's Watch. I'm Wolf, and I will see you on the trail. If I can find the off button. Have a good weekend, and keep an eye out for our blooper reel.